It's Sunday night. You check your account. And the number looks fine. Then Monday morning hits. The screen turns red. Silver is gapping. Again. And you're left staring at the same question that wipes people out every cycle. Was that silver sell-off panic, or was it a setup? Because what just happened in silver isn't normal volatility. It's the kind of move you see in a casino, right before they change the rules. In the last stretch of trading, silver didn't just drift lower. It whipsawed. Hard, violent, fast. One moment it's ripping higher. Next moment it's falling through the floor, like an elevator cable snapping, like a trapdoor in a stage. And if you felt your stomach drop watching it, good. That feeling is a signal. Your instincts still work. Because moves like this don't happen in a vacuum. They happen when the system is stressed, when leverage is stacked like dry kindling, and one spark sets the whole pile on fire. Here's what the sleeping herd tells themselves. It's just a pullback. It'll bounce. It's nothing. That's how they get slaughtered. Because when silver moves like this, it's rarely just sellers. It's usually leverage getting liquidated. It's usually margin getting tightened. It's usually the house saying pay up or get out. And the house always wins against the crowd, because the house controls the rules. So tonight we're going to do what the herd won't do. We're going to read the clues. We're going to follow the incentives. We're going to look at what actually matters into tomorrow. This is A.G. Porter. And I'm telling you straight, what you think silver is doing and what silver is actually doing are two different movies. Now let's tear the mask off. Silver didn't randomly fall. This wasn't gravity. This was mechanics. A leveraged market can look strong right up until the moment it snaps. Like a bridge with termites. It holds. It holds. It holds. Then collapse. Margin is the hidden lever most people never see. It's the toll booth on the highway. And when the toll suddenly spikes, traffic doesn't just slow down. It crashes. Cars pile up. People panic. Not because the destination changed, but because the cost of staying on the road exploded. When exchanges hike margins, they raise the cash you must post to keep your position alive. If you don't have extra cash sitting there, you don't get a second chance. You get liquidated, forced out, at the worst moment, right when fear is peaking. And that's how you get a sell-off that feels like chaos, even when it's engineered by rules, not emotion. Now here's the chart clue most people miss. In a real end-of-the-story crash, price doesn't snap back. It breaks, it bleeds, it dies quietly. But in these silver sell-offs, you often see something different. A violent slam, a sharp bounce, then another punch, then another bounce. That's not random. That's two forces colliding. On one side, speculators who borrowed to chase the move. Late, overconfident, leaning forward. On the other side, big players who wait for the margin hammer, then buy what gets dumped. It's a classic transfer, a conveyor belt, from emotional hands to disciplined hands, and the crowd never realizes it. Because the crowd looks at the screen and thinks the screen is truth. But the screen is just the last trade. It doesn't show who was forced. It doesn't show who was waiting with dry powder. It doesn't show who set the trap. Let me make this simple. When silver is rising, everyone feels smart. When silver drops, everyone suddenly becomes long-term. That's comedy. That's denial. That's the human brain trying to protect itself from embarrassment. But the market doesn't care about embarrassment. It cares about liquidity, about forced selling, about who can survive the squeeze. So if you're thinking, okay, fine, but why does this matter to me? Because you are living inside a bigger machine. A machine that is chewing up retirees, quietly, with paperwork, with policy, with inflation. Most Americans, especially retirees, are living inside a story that is already collapsing. They still believe the dollar is stable, the government can handle it. The safety nets will catch them. Markets are fair. Banks are safe. That's the bedtime story. That's the lullaby. But the real story is debt. Relentless debt. Compounding debt. Debt that doesn't care about your retirement date. Debt that doesn't care about your pension. Debt that doesn't care about your cost of living. It just grows. And when it grows, it demands payment. So let's talk math. A country that keeps adding debt has only a few exits. Raise taxes, cut spending, default, or print. Now look at reality. Look at politics. Look at the promises they refuse to break. Cut spending, not when every election is an auction and every voter is being bribed with their own money. Raise taxes, not enough to matter without strangling the economy and lighting the public on fire. Default, they will never call it that. They'll dress it up. They'll rename it. They'll say restructuring. They'll say stabilization. They'll say temporary measures. So what's left? Print, delay, devalue. And that's why hard assets keep coming back like lifeboats. Because paper promises rot. Metal doesn't. Now about those safety nets. People say, I'm fine, I'm insured. They point to the system like it's a steel vault. They think the letters on the brochure are a force field. But here's the ugly truth. Insurance is designed for isolated fires, not a city burning at once. The safety net is a net, not a wall. And if you've ever seen a net under stress, you know what happens. It stretches, it tears, and it doesn't catch everyone. Now, before anyone twists this, listen carefully. I'm not saying your bank fails tomorrow. I'm saying the system is built on confidence, and confidence evaporates faster than money. And you don't need a failure to be trapped. You just need a delay. They don't need to take your money. They just need to pause access, freeze transfers, flag transactions, slow withdrawals, create verification steps, add friction. A delay is all it takes to break a retiree. A few weeks, a frozen transfer, a temporary restriction, because your life doesn't pause while regulators sort it out. Mortgage, utilities, medication, food, gas, you don't pay those with press releases. This isn't a theory, this is math. And silver sits right in the blast zone between paper promises and physical reality. And let's talk about the most dangerous lie in markets. The lie that destroys retirees. The lie is this: if it's in my account, it's mine. No. In the modern system, most of what you own is a claim, a promise, an IOU with nice fonts and a login screen. And IOUs behave perfectly until the day they don't. That's why this silver move matters, because it's showing you how fast confidence can flip, how fast the rules can tighten, how fast the crowd can be forced to sell. Now I want to give you 3 chart clues you can feel in your bones. Not in a textbook, in real life. Clue 1. The first hard slam after a big run usually isn't the end. It's the test. It's the system asking, who is over-leveraged? It's a shake to see who falls off the wagon. Clue 2. Watch the speed of the bounce. A weak bounce is like a patient with no pulse. A strong bounce is like a defibrillator. It tells you buyers are not gone. They're waiting. Clue 3. Watch what happens on the second dip. That's where the truth lives. Because the first dip scares amateurs. The second dip breaks them. If the second dip holds and buyers step in, the sell-off starts to look like a setup. If the second dip fails, then the panic spreads. Not because silver is cursed, because forced selling is contagious. And tomorrow morning, that second dip can happen in minutes. Before your coffee is done, before you've even fully woken up. Imagine this. You wake up, you glance at your phone. Silver is down again. The commentators say, it's just profit taking, but your gut says something else. Then you hear it, a ping, a notification, not from the market, from your bank. Unusual activity detected. And in that moment you feel how fragile your comfort really is. Because your entire retirement depends on systems you do not control. That's why we keep coming back to physical metal. Not as a trade, as independence, as a way to shorten the chain between you and your wealth. Now we step into the trap. Because the trap is never announced. It's introduced for your safety. Imagine this. You wake up and your bank app works. You can see your balance. You can scroll. You can smile for half a second. But when you try to move a large amount, a message appears. Transaction flagged. Please contact support. You call. You wait. You get transferred. You hear the same scripted line. It's a new compliance rule. And while you're on hold, prices move, bills hit, and your freedom shrinks. That's the future most retirees are not picturing. They think the danger is a stock crash, or a recession, or a bad year. No, the real danger is control, rules, access, permission. And the more unstable the system becomes, the more they push toward rails that can be controlled. Digital rails, trackable money, programmable limits, call it whatever you want. The direction is the same. More monitoring, more friction, more temporary measures that never go away. Now bring it back to the silver sell-off. When silver gets slammed while the long-term reality doesn't vanish overnight, ask yourself one question: who benefits from panic? Weak hands get scared out, strong hands scoop the physical, and the public learns the wrong lesson. Silver is dangerous. No, leverage is dangerous. Paper claims are dangerous. Counterparty risk is dangerous. Physical metal in your possession doesn't wake up one morning and say, sorry, withdrawals are paused. Now tomorrow. What matters into tomorrow isn't your opinion. It isn't the tweet you saw. It isn't the headline that made you angry. It's the levels where fear flips into forced action. In a liquidation cycle, the most important chart clues are not fancy indicators. They're simple. Where forced sellers already puked. Where buyers defended. Where the bounce failed before. Where the next wave of margin calls can hit like a sledgehammer. Here's the retention killer in most financial videos. They talk about charts like it's a classroom. They say support and resistance, and then they lose you. So I'm going to translate it into real life. Support is the floorboards under your feet. Resistance is the ceiling above your head. And a liquidation is when the building catches fire and everyone stampedes for the same exit. When silver slammed and then snapped back, that told you two things at the same time. There is real demand underneath, and there is real stress above it. That is not a calm bull market. That is a battlefield. And battlefields favor professionals. They punish retirees who think, I'll just react. By the time you react, the doors are already swinging shut. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'll wait and see what happens tomorrow, I want you to picture the Titanic. The band plays, the lights glow, people sip drinks, they laugh, they roll their eyes at the worried ones, and then ice. By the time the crowd realizes it's real, the lifeboats are already filling. Silver and gold are lifeboats, not because they go up every day, not because they make you feel clever, but because they are not someone else's promise. Now we get to the part they don't want you to talk about, the exit. This channel doesn't push metal as a hot trade. That's for gamblers, and most retirees can't afford to gamble. We frame it the way reality frames it: survival, freedom, bearer assets. Because the entire modern system is built on one fragile idea, that you don't need to hold anything. You just need statements, passwords, apps, and trust. Trust the bank, trust the broker, trust the clearinghouse, trust the government, trust the backstop. But every layer you add is another place you can be told no. That is counterparty risk. Counterparty risk is not complicated. If your wealth requires someone else to perform, approve, deliver, or stay solvent, you don't fully own it. You're renting it. And retirees have been trained to rent everything. Rent your house through property taxes. Rent your access through banks. Rent your retirement through markets. Rent your security through government promises. Now ask yourself, how many middlemen are sitting between you and your own life savings? 1, 2, 5? Because every middleman is a potential locked door. Physical metal is different. When you hold it, you don't need permission. You don't need a login. You don't need a third party to process your request. That's why the phrase matters: be your own central bank. A central bank doesn't ask for permission to have reserves. They have reserves. They don't apply to settle. They settle. That's the point. Now let's address the trap that keeps people stuck. People think owning metal is about making a profit. They want a number. They want a target. They want a prediction. Stop. That mindset is what gets people killed in paper markets. Because it turns everything into a bet. And retirees do not need more bets. This isn't about getting rich. This is about not getting trapped. Because the trap isn't a bad price. The trap is being unable to act when you need to. And after watching silver get whipped around, after watching margin pressure turn into forced selling, if you still believe paper claims are as safe as physical, you're ignoring the smoke alarm. This market action is a message. It's telling you they can move the goalposts. They can raise the costs. They can force selling. They can crush the late crowd. But they cannot print ounces. And yes, silver has its own personality. It's the wild one. It's the younger brother who breaks the furniture. Gold is the anchor. Silver is the swing. Silver can fall harder and snap back faster. That's why you must stop thinking like a day trader and start thinking like a survivor. You don't day trade lifeboats. You secure them before the water rises. Now let's future pace it the way most channels won't. Imagine this. Inflation doesn't come down the way they promised. Your grocery bill creeps up again. Your insurance jumps. Property taxes climb. Your fixed income stays fixed. Then the next headline hits. New emergency measures to stabilize markets. Sounds comforting. Until you read the fine print. Because stability for them often means restriction for you. You're told what you can move, how much, and when. You're told what needs review, what needs approval, what needs verification. And you find out too late that your freedom was a privilege granted by systems that can revoke it. Now back to the question. Panic or setup? Here's the honest answer. For the leveraged crowd, it was panic. Forced panic. Mechanical panic. For the prepared, it may be a setup, a transfer, a clearance sale created by pressure. Because every violent shakeout does one thing: it moves assets from emotional hands to disciplined hands. And retirees, if you're not careful, become the emotional hands. You watch red candles. You feel fear. You think, I'll just wait. But waiting is a decision. And sometimes it's the most expensive decision you can make. Tomorrow's clue won't be a headline. It'll be behavior. Do we see stabilization after the margin shock? Do buyers show up on dips? Or do we see another wave of forced selling? And here's the sneaky part. Even if price bounces, the lesson remains. Because the lesson is not silver went down. The lesson is they can squeeze you out. So tonight, do this. Stop watching silver like it's a scratch-off ticket. Start watching it like it's a smoke alarm. When the alarm screams, you don't argue about the brand. You don't debate the color. You don't scroll social media hunting for comfort. You move. You prepare. You reduce your dependence on the same system that is creating the problem. Physical gold and silver are not magic. They're not perfect. They're not a guarantee. They are a way to reduce the number of people you have to trust. And in the world that's forming, trust is the rarest currency of all. So here's the call. If you want to survive what's coming financially, not emotionally, subscribe to AG Reporter, because the sleeping herd will keep believing the lullaby, and the corrupt system will keep tightening the net. But the awakened few, we prepare before the doors close. And I'll leave you with one thought that should sit in your chest like a stone. In the next crisis, you won't be judged by what you knew. You'll be judged by what you held.